Absolute Power issue 3, Mark Waid writing with Dan Mora on the art. Yeah, there's lots of stuff going on here. Themyscira,
Mm-hmm.
Superboy. Oh, he's not Superboy anymore. John Kent's Superman now. But you know what I mean.
The
It's weird
cyborg
though.
Superboy.
It's weird because Superman is back though, so it's weird to
Mm-hmm.
still call him Superman. But
I mean, we have two Flashes. We always designate Wally and Barry. I guess we can do
true,
the same
true.
with Clark and John. But as of right now, I've been calling him Brainiac Boy because essentially that's what he is. Next to Brainiac Queen. So
I
uh,
think it's a little bit different though because Wally was legitimately on his own while Barry was gone for like
yeah,
over a decade.
true.
You know,
Well, I mean, okay, well,
Superman wasn't even gone though. He was just not on Earth. He was still in
right,
another book at the same
right.
time.
I'll say because also then you have Jay Garrick who's been around. Still, we still call him Flash at some point. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will just say if this is just an excuse for Dan Moore to draw the whole DC universe, I think Mark Waid really is giving him stuff to
Mm.
work with because there are just characters in here that it's just nice to see them pop up, done in the Dan Moore style. So thinking about that page on Themyscira where they're all kind of standing as groups. You have the Doom Patrol and Plastic Man. Trying to see some of the other ones that you don't really see in the book. Who's off to the side over there? I think those are Amazons, but yeah, the point just stands though that Moore is just feasting every chance he gets on this.
Yeah, so the heroes retreated from the Fortress of Solitude, of course, at the end of the last issue, and it turns out they went to Themyscira, which is where most of this issue is set. And there's a little bit of tension. You know, the Amazons aren't thrilled with having them there, but they realize it's the right thing to do. They do mention that Themyscira and the Amazons still have the ongoing issue from Wonder Woman with
Mm-hmm.
the US government, so that's
Right,
still ticking away in the background.
and the reason that Terrific had chosen Themyscira for them to teleport to is it has magical defenses, meaning that John won't be able to find them as easy, right?
In
Because there's the
theory.
shieldings, right? And so that's why they're there. So it's giving them a brief, like, safe haven while they can, and we get some really good interactions between the heroes here.
Yeah, there's a lot of Nightwing still being in charge, sort of splitting
Mm-hmm.
everyone up into groups and giving them different tasks. You know, Wally's been sent to like try and like basically just find whatever he can from the Hall of Order,
Mm-hmm.
like find out any juicy details you can. Aquaman gets a team of like Blue Beetle and a couple others to go and like storm this ship because they need to try
Mm-hmm.
and get the Time Master guy because he's key to what Waller's doing. So they're all kind of giving tasks as Failsafe and Brainiac Queen are kind of searching for them and doing whatever. If I have a critique about this issue is that I did feel like once we get to the part later on where the bad guys show up at Themyscira, I did
Mm-hmm.
feel like, oh, this feels like a little bit like the same of them just showing up at the fortress last issue.
Yeah.
It felt a little repetitious in that sense. That said,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, once things get going, the events play out very differently because here, they enact a plan quite quickly to try and turn John back to himself, which works. You
Mm-hmm.
know, all the magic of Themyscira once he lands, kind of basically just like shocks the shit out of him, and it gets rid of all the extra tech and coding and whatnot, and he
Yeah.
becomes John Kent again, which is
Yeah.
which is a fun thing. There is some fun stuff in this issue though, like when Aquaman's team's storming the ship to try and get the Time Master dude. Brainiac, sorry, not Brainiac, sorry. I always do that with
Bizarre.
Brainiac and Bizarro. Bizarro's there, and they're dealing with him. And one of the random things that Green Lantern brought with them, I mean, there was a scene earlier on where he's whipping out all the villains' weapons and saying, "Hey, what do you want? Like, everyone pick a weapon."
Which I also love the idea that Hal got the Themyscira and immediately took his shirt off. Like,
Wait,
just-
hold on a second.
yeah.
Didn't he already not have his shirt on from before?
I don't remember, but
I
in my
think he
head,
did. I think he was already
Hal's-
topless.
Hal's the type that's like, hey, anybody else hot in here around all these ladies? Not me.
You think
he's-
he's trying to impress all the Amazons?
Absolutely. He's not picking up that they're not into him, but he's going to do it anyways. He's clearly not their type, but he's finding reasons to flex.
Mhm.
Like, hey, you need that over there, But yeah, I don't remember if he didn't have a shirt on or not. But
I seem to remember him running around with his shirt off when he was sneaking
Okay.
around in Green Lantern.
okay,
But I mean, I could be corrected, but I
Yeah.
feel like he was already there. He also just rekindled with Carol, so it'd be a bit weird if he's like trying to sway the
I'm just,
Amazons right now.
you know, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Anyway, what I was going to say though is I love that they throw Black
Um,
Mercy onto
mhm.
Bizarro, and that's how they get past them. I was like, oh, that's actually a fun little trick. It reminds me of
I
something towards the end of Fringe, where they actually
mhm.
use a lot of the plot of the week, like MacGuffins, towards the
Oh,
end as like,
that's cool.
yeah, there's like basically like a thing. I won't spoil too much here. I won't get spoilery, but there's a bit towards the end where like, okay, we've got a lot of things we need to deal with. How can we do that? And they basically go into their vault where all of the like different artifacts and objects that episodes revolved around back in like season 1 and 2. We see a few of those come back because they used them as weapons, and it's like this is what
Mhm.
this made me think of. Is like, oh hey, Black Mercy's a thing that we had a big Superman story about that. That was a whole big deal.
Mhm.
Oh, now it's something we can
So
use against Bizarro.
I got a little bit concerned just because you see Bizarro punch through Aquaman, and I was like,
He's like,
wait a minute, is this a decoy or something? And then when you turn the page and he's got the Black Mercy on him, I was like, oh, okay, cool, because I didn't know if Wade was taking swings here
yeah,
or
you're a
not.
mark,
And
is what
then,
you're saying.
yeah, I
You fell
get worked
for
very
it.
easily. Hence my former CM Punk fandom. All right, like who's the mark? Me. Uh, but yeah.
Dear. Yeah, you've got a lot of stuff going on with this young hero called Airwave, who's feeling kind
Mhm.
of like useless and depressed because without his powers, which weren't even powers, there was his suit did stuff.
He had a helmet that allowed him to transform into sound waves,
Yeah.
right? And so essentially, he's like a broadcast tower. Uh, and the whole point of that, I'll let you explain the rest of it, but I really thought that was the strongest point of the book.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the big thing here is that the villains show up, and the reason why they're able to show up is because Brainiac Queen could connect to Red Tornado because he's
Hmm.
tech and use that as a way to track them. So, action breaks down, lots of stuff going on. One of the conflicts in the issue is that Barda was of the opinion that they should just kill John because he's too
Hmm.
dangerous. And Nightwing's like, wait a minute, we're not going to be killing John Kent.
She's using the zombie movie thing. Is like, that's not your friend anymore. And Nightwing's like, what? No, yes, it is. Like he's
Yes.
still, yes, he's like my little brother.
Yeah,
Like,
and as
you
soon
know.
as they show up, Bard is
Uh,
loading a kryptonite bullet into a sniper rifle, and I'm like,
yep.
I don't think I've ever seen Barda with a rifle before. It feels like such
No. It
like a different cat. Like this is something that I would expect. Who's a character that I'd say like I don't know, Zealot maybe would be a better example of
Mhm.
someone who would expect to break out a sniper rifle.
Yeah. Not with Barda. I would assume that she would have taken a chunk of kryptonite and fashioned it to her.
Axe or
What's her
something.
weapon called?
I
Yeah,
don't know.
her rod, whatever that she uses.
I,
Just swing it at him.
yeah. I just don't associate Barda with guns, but she's like, nope,
Yeah,
I got this high-powered sniper rifle. Let's do it.
I found it. Like
I,
but yeah, but
I don't even associate. I mean, I guess it came from the villain's stash of weapons that,
mhm.
that Hal brought with him. But I don't even associate like. Do you think there's guns lying around in Themyscira? I don't think so.
Mhm.
Doesn't seem like that's
No,
what they're rocking. But
no. So real quick with the thing with Airwave that we kind of went over is he gets a pep talk by who's talking to him,
it's Aquaman, I think, is it
uh,
not?
to Aquaman.
I think it's
Um,
Aquaman.
about because he's feeling useless, right? Because of without his um, powers. Is it? Hold on. Yes, I believe so. But basically, he tells them that like no, but your power's here, right? It's you. You chose to be a hero with that suit, right? With
Mm-hmm.
that tech. So yes, the tech helps you be a hero, but it's not why you're the hero. And around the same time, Waller's having the realization that some of her Amazos are gaining sentience because of the Speed Force and because of the Starheart.
Yeah, well,
Right? They specifically say.
yeah, that comes a bit later, the main part. I think there's like a
Mhm.
hint of it early on where
Mhm.
Failsafe says, oh, there's some weird things going on with the Amazos, but
Mhm.
I'll reboot them if it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
And it's later on where it becomes a bit more of a clear thing where it seems like they're actually taking some of the empathy from, like,
Mhm.
when they take the powers, they're not just taking the powers, they're taking
Yep.
empathy from the heroes, and that's why a couple of them, because the main one that we've read about is the Green Lantern
Yep.
one that Alan
Right.
Scott had affected.
Mhm.
They're actually starting to gain a conscience, and this pisses off Waller to no end. that they're becoming good.
Hmm.
This idea that everything she's doing can be undone because the idea of what the heroes stand up for is actually spreading as well, and she couldn't have accounted for that.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a
And I
really
love
fun
that where
idea.
she's like, yeah, she's like, it's the goodness. There's no way that goodness spreads like that. And so I just love that for all of her cynicalness and everything, it was the one thing that she didn't account for, like actual empathy going into
Yeah,
robots.
cynicism was the word you were looking for.
Thank you, cynicism. Uh, I'm not good at talking. I can do it, but I'm not that great at it, like a lot of things. Um, but yeah, so I like that little wrinkle here that it's kind of the
Yeah.
goodness that's the real virus here that's spreading amongst
Yeah,
them.
and I think that's actually a good example here of a tie-in
Hmm.
enhancing the event, because I don't think this revelation that the Amazos are taking the personality traits or
Hmm.
the conscious or the morals from the heroes. I think that would have felt like it came out of nowhere had I not
Yeah,
read the Green Lantern issue. The Green Lantern
right.
tie-in issues, I think, set that up so this landed for me. Had I
Hmm.
just been reading the main book, I would have said, that's a fun idea, but I feel like it's just come out of nowhere and doesn't really have much weight. But because I saw it play out a little bit in Green Lantern, and it even started in one of the Task Force 7 issues, which I didn't even read, but because Green
Hmm.
Lantern teed me up for it, this landed better. So that
Yeah.
sometimes, tie-ins can have a good positive effect, even if like
Hmm.
I still rather have regular Green Lantern issues than the tie-in issues. They did accomplish something here in the
Yeah,
context of the overall story,
for sure.
which is good. So, uh, yeah, so yeah, they've dealt with John at the end of the issue, and at this point, Superman's back. He's hugging John. Batman's back as well with the mother box and all that.
Hmm.
This was another example of, I read this first when I probably should have read Batman first, but whatever.
I actually do think that it doesn't really matter at that run because that really does feel like a side quest for Batman.
It does. It's really just he went to
So
fetch an item and he's
yeah.
back with it.
Oh, and here
Uh,
he is. It's like he went to go grab lunch.
but yeah, he like the Nightwing's like, where's Batman? And then it's like it
Uh-huh.
cuts to Batman's over at Time Commander being like, all right, you're going to help us, Star, because you can get everyone's
Hmm.
powers back. Which I do kind of love the not the irony, that's not the word, but
No.
the idea that Batman's the one getting everyone else's powers back has an interesting sort of twist to it,
Hmm.
because Batman's the one that doesn't have powers and that never lost
Yep.
anything, arguably.
Hmm.
And at least in a strictly, physical sense, that
Right.
in terms of his abilities. So
Yeah. What's a Batman Amazo gonna do to you? I mean, outside of failsafe.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
what I like about it is that, Batman, obviously, when Superman first shows up and all these metas start showing up, like, he's very wary of trusting, he's very wary of
Hmm.
whatever. There is something kind of sweet that in the, that now we've got like an older middle-aged Batman who's been through a lot, that he's like, no, I'm going to get all my friends' powers back because they do too much good. I don't know,
Hmm.
it's a nice little character bit for him. Um, yeah, although out of nowhere at the end, there was like an extra wrinkle added on here
Hmm.
where Barry was sent, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Wally was the
Hmm.
one on the fancy speedster bike, and this is
Yes.
Barry that's been doing this,
And
right?
Barry was on the boat too with the rest of them
Yes,
when
yes,
when they got the stuff. So
yeah,
he's gone to the Supermax where they're keeping all of the heroes,
yeah.
right, to the sub basement
I
because he's
was,
following a frequency.
yeah, I was just worried that I'd mixed up
Mm.
which one was which in the course of the story,
Nope.
but yeah, that's
No.
fine. So yeah, Barry was given the mission to go into like Waller's prison and try and figure out where to, what she's up to, what's going on, blah blah blah. And then he sees the multiverse map, and he's like, "Wait,
Hmm.
that's the map I helped make. What the hell? What's going on?" So it turns out Waller is trying to use a transmatter machine to build a multiversal army. She's building potentially powered beings from other universes, and there's a big, scary-looking speedster dude behind Barry here at the end.
That's actually Baroness, or it could be Baron Blitzkrieg, who's from the Nazified Earth where the freedom fighters
Ah,
are.
but he's a speedster, I assume, because
Yeah, you're right. But I just know
Oh,
the
nice catch!
design on
Nice
the suit.
catch! I would never have, I would never
Yeah,
have recognized that character. So
yeah.
very good.
And if you look, there's like the Nazi eagle on their chest, and then there's another speedster as well at the top who he looks like the what was his name, Johnny Quick from Earth 3. So yeah, and some form
Okay.
of Bane it looks like too behind him. Because that was another part we kind of skipped over, was there's a voice that's talking to Barry, right? And is basically like, you're gonna have to do what Flashes do during an
Oh
event
yeah,
like this.
this was this was like a voice luring him in almost,
Hmm.
right? You
Yeah.
just see a hand. What's so funny though is that the hand looked like it's wearing a white glove, and
Hmm.
I was convinced this was Time Commander because like literally like
Yeah.
2 pages later, when they find Time Commander, he's wearing a white
Mhm.
glove. Admittedly, he's
Okay.
not acting like the mysterious voice that told Barry to,
Right.
go be a Flash, but
Right.
yeah, yeah, I'd actually forgotten about that. It was such a weird little like
But
intersect.
yeah, so it's a voice that comes to him, and he thought that it was Hal. He goes, "This isn't Hal. Are you speaking through some kind of modulator? He can't tell."
Yeah.
And the voice goes,
Just
"It doesn't matter."
for the record, when you say a voice
Yes.
comes to him, it isn't just like materialized in his head.
No,
It's
it's in his comms.
it's over his comm system. Yeah. So someone's
Yeah.
just hacked into the signal. That's
Yes, and they're wearing the white glove, right? And he asks, he's the one that tells them, or they're the one that tells him to go to the bottom of the Supermax prison,
all. Feels like a trap.
right?
Yeah. Feels like he's
Yep.
been lured down here.
And he goes, "What a Flash always do." He goes, "And do what do you want me to do?" He's like, "And what a Flash always does in the crisis:
Although
save the world or die trying." And I'm like, that's a bit sinister,
Although
right?
having said that, like as much as I'm saying it feels like a trap, at the same
Mhm.
time, this hand that we see and
Uh-huh.
whoever's speaking does not look like any character we see here at the end. So it's
Nope.
entirely possible that this mysterious person actually wants Barry to find this for good reasons, and it just seems like a
Mhm.
trap now. But I'm putting that possibility out there just in case this ends up being
Yeah.
someone actually
Well,
helpful in the long run.
right. For me, it was the save the world or die trying part too, where it's like, okay, it's someone that has a familiarity with all these different events, right? As these played out in the DC continuity, you know.
Yeah, to me, this feels like the book's pivoting into setting up whatever's next, rather
Yep.
than like obviously we're going to wrap up Absolute Power, but I feel
Mhm.
like this part of it is what's going to like tease the next event by the end of the
Yeah.
last issue, which the next
Yeah.
issue is the last one,
Right.
So
Right. Um, but yeah, the other scene that I really did like is when John does land, right? And it's because Nightwing kind of goads him into it, where he says, "John down here," and not just because it feels in the moment like he's trying to get him out of Barda's line of sight, but it's really because once he steps foot on Themyscira, right, the magic will help do that. So I like that entire sequence, and Moira really renders it really well
yeah,
because John looks super sinister, right? Standing over him with all the orange and yellow behind him. And then as soon as it burns out, right, and we see that the way that a couple pages later, that Clark's hugging him and he looks like he's been through hell. It just that entire sequence really hit me.
yeah. Also, the other big thing that happens here is that once John is back. Because
Mhm.
he's still connected to all the Brainiac Queen tech, he basically like forces all the real memories into her. So Brainiac Queen basically gets like a surge of like, oh no, the heroes aren't enemies like Amanda Waller has taught you,
Mhm.
and you can sort of, and it's well done in the art because you sort of get her
Yeah.
face and she's screaming, but like behind her face, like in her skull, if you will, you see just all these examples of Superman being Superman,
Mhm.
Batman being Batman, Wonder Woman, so on. Straightforward
Yeah.
enough. So that pisses Waller off as well. She feels like her
Mhm.
quote unquote daughter has been violated by
Mhm.
all these truthful, heroic memories that is now
Yeah.
being put inside her brain.
They put bad things in her head.
Yeah, yeah. And then I think Batman sends Brainiac Queen to Pluto with the mother box after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry to give you this trauma. See you later.
Yeah, bye bye. I mean, she's a big scary robot. She'll be fine. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was a big moment as well. It feels like it may be important. Maybe Brainiac Queen will be coming after Waller next. Now with the lies have been exposed potentially. As well, it depends how confused she is. Maybe they're conflicting and she's not quite sorted them out yet. Because there's like two
Mhm.
histories in her head now. But yeah. So no, I mean I enjoyed the issue. I do think that from a structural perspective, it is a little messier than the first two.
Mhm.
And the idea that our heroes are hiding in a safe haven. It was the fortress last time. This time it's Themyscira. Villains eventually show up. I do think that feels a little repetitive, but there's a lot of good character beats. I do like some of the details, like Black Mercy on Bizarro, or just some of the Nightwing being the leader. you know, some of these teases for what's coming. But this definitely felt more typical eventy, perhaps, than
Yeah.
like I think the great focus that issue 1 and to an extent issue 2 had as well. So
Yeah,
good,
it was.
but not quite as great as the other ones.
Yeah, Wade really spread out the focus on this one. The last two were kind of focused on these big moments. This one it kind of reversed that, where there's a lot of these good small moments, but it was really focused on moving things along.
Yeah.
Uh,
It may just be a victim of this is only 4 issues instead of
Yep.
say 6, and
Right.
this is quite. I mean, they are a little bit oversized. Don't get me wrong. There's 30 pages instead of 20, but it does maybe feel like another issue or 2 might have helped to breathe just a little bit more.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
all right, obviously art's very good. You brought up more earlier. Yeah, I mean, I think there are some pages that are just complete standouts, and then there's other pages where it's just solid, right? That's kind of the range that more works in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but some good stuff throughout for sure. All right, what are you rating Absolute Power?
I'm gonna give this a solid 8.
Yeah, I agree. It's an 8 out of 10. I think it's a very good event book, but nothing's matched issue 1 as of yet. But we'll see how it wraps up. Although I do have a sneaking suspicion that it's going to do that thing where 2/3 of it's wrapping up this story and 1/3 of it is but teasing for the build up to the next thing that we're going to do in the DC universe. So, plus, I mean, I don't know if there's going to be like a sort of blanket sort of. No, it doesn't need an intro in the same way that Rebirth had to have the Rebirth one shot, but I do wonder if the end of this will feel like, oh, we're in the dawn of a new age because we're now in DC All In. Maybe there'll be a tease of the Absolute stuff at the end, like maybe like because I mean, hell, this issue did bring in the idea of the multiverse map. Maybe you know at the end of
That's
we'll get a little glimpse of Absolute Superman, Batman, and whatnot.